Welcome to INFOCUS. I'm your host, Thuy Phan. Vietnam is known for many wonderful things, but among them is not equality or human rights. This, of course, is not a new issue, but it is more prominent now more than ever with the recent arrest of bloggers and activists. Join me as we find out more about the situation in Vietnam and what it means for the people living under the communist regime.
Living in America, it is hard to fathom ever being detained or put in jail for doing something as simple as expressing your opinion, blogging, or even attending workshops. But in Vietnam, this is a reality, and that's exactly what happened to 14 activists who were put on trial this week. In one fell swoop, the Vietnamese government convicted all 14 for activities deemed as subversive, and all were sentenced to lengthy jail terms. When we say lengthy, we mean 3 to 13 years, not including additional house arrest. This trial and its outcome has been both an outrage and an eye-opener for the world to see that Vietnam and its crackdown on dissidents is rising. Chairman of Viet Tân, one of the most vocal political and social movement groups out there, says the trial was proof Vietnam is corrupt.
The initial reaction that we have gotten so far is extremely strong. Almost immediately, all of the major news outlets had ran articles about this, and all of the major NGOs and human rights observers organizations like Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, Media Defense, Article 19, just to name a few, have came out, and they really come out and condemn in the strongest possible terms against this trial and the sentences that they handed out to the bloggers, to the democracy activists. The U.S. State Department and the U.S. Embassy immediately put out a statement strongly condemning the sentences. So I must say, not even 12 hours have passed since the sentences have been handed out, but the reaction from the word community has been stronger than ever, and I'm quite happy to see that. And yes, I think all of these, the after effect would be the relationship between the Hanoi regime and many other governments, especially the U.S., will be impacted negatively by this sentences, and they will be continue to be condemned. They will be continue to be viewed as an outcast among civilized nations of the world.
To put things in perspective, he says all of those sentences were simply doing what you and I would do as part of our everyday regular life without thinking it would land them in jail.
Unfortunately, most of these people are very young people. Their ages ranges from early 20s to the late 30s, early 40s. But not all, but the majority of them are Catholics in terms of religion. We have a few Presbyterian and also Buddhists among the group. The alleged crime, and this is the official charges that were brought up, upon them, was in violation of Article 79 of the Vietnamese Penal Code, which is attempting to overthrow the government. But the so-called evidence that were presented at the trial was simply because they attended training classes on nonviolent techniques, because they attended class on leadership skills, because they attended training about internet activism and internet security, and that was so-called the crimes that they committed. So the evidence presented definitely painted a very different picture about these people. These are peaceful activists, democracy activists who want to bring about peaceful changes in Vietnam. Not only that, they are also social activists. A lot of them are involved in social issues in Vietnam, helping poverty, helping to fight against poverty, helping other people in their communities. So basically, the so-called the crimes that they have been charged with and the evidence presented contradict each other, and because of that, I think the majority of everybody who's been watching the trial, the overwhelming majority consensus is that this is a clear violation of their human rights by the Vietnamese government.
Although the trial was deemed open, it was filled to the rafters with police officers, and family members were refused entry. Even the U.S. Embassy in Hanoi reacted and said they were troubled by reports that the People's Court of Nghệ An Province convicted 14 Catholic Redemptorist bloggers on charges related to their exercise of their rights to freedom of expression. It goes on to say that these detentions are part of a disturbing human rights trend in Vietnam. It ends with a call on the government to release these individuals and all other prisoners of conscience immediately. Even with these strong words and outreach from the international community, Vietnam still continues its crackdown without regard or care.
If you look at what's happening in Vietnam during the last few years, especially during the last 18 months, the general feelings is that, gee, the Vietnamese government is cracking down more than ever before, and that's true. More than ever before, the number of people who got arrested, the number of sentences, harsh sentences been handed down was a lot more than ever before. But to me, that is a clear sign that the Vietnamese regime is in trouble. Because whenever a dictatorship is in control, they are fully in charge, they will not need to resort to this kind of blatant crackdown. The more arrests they handed out, the more harsh sentences they handed out, it is a clear sign that they are concerned. That is a clear sign that people's resentment against the government, people are taking up civil disobedience and activism to promote peaceful change. All of that is a clear sign that they're in trouble. And if you really look closely at what's going on inside Vietnam, and I just want to stress, human rights violation is a very serious issue. However, it is not the only issue in Vietnam. There are many more that we need to pay attention to. Corruption, the economy is going downhill, social inequalities, all of that have really triggered the level of public discontent has risen to the highest level than ever before. So to make a long story short, things in Vietnam are already changing, and the government knows that. And they face the real threat that people will no longer take this lying down. And so, yes, I believe things will change Vietnam despite all of this crackdown, despite all of this tough sentences. Things will change Vietnam in the near future. And the funny thing I have said to some of my people is that I wonder if this regime will actually last as long as some of the sentences that they have handed out. I really doubt that they will be able to last that long.
For Do, who has dedicated a good part of his life to bringing democracy to Vietnam, he says it was a calling he simply had to answer.
Nghĩ rằng là mỗi một con người đều có một sự chọn lựa, và tôi chọn cái công việc là làm sao cố gắng đem lại một cái sự cải thiện cho đất nước Việt Nam. Tôi rời Việt Nam ở một cái tuổi khá là còn nhỏ, mặc dù tôi sống xa quê hương một thời gian dài. Nhưng mỗi khi tôi nhìn đến đất nước Việt Nam, tôi nhìn lại những gì đang xảy ra trên đất nước Việt Nam, tôi nhìn những cái cảnh bất công, điển hình như cái vụ án ngày hôm qua, một cái sự phi lý, một cái sự bất công cùng cực như vậy, thì tôi nghĩ là cái lương tâm của tôi nó không cho phép tôi có thể ngoảnh mặt làm ngơ. Tôi không thể nào tôi có thể ngủ yên được nếu mà tôi nhìn thấy ở Việt Nam có những chuyện bất công như vậy nó xảy ra hàng ngày. Trong con người mình đó, mỗi người đều nhìn thấy muốn nhìn thấy một cái cảnh nó tốt đẹp hơn cho đất nước Việt Nam. Nếu mình còn nghĩ mình là người Việt Nam, trong chiều của tôi vẫn còn nghĩ tôi là người Việt Nam, tôi vẫn còn có cái sự thiết tha với đất nước, thì chính cái sự thiết tha đó, cái lòng mong mỏi muốn nhìn thấy công bằng, muốn nhìn thấy một cái tương lai tốt đẹp hơn cho những thế hệ tương lai của Việt Nam, nó là cái ngọn lửa, nó là cái động lực, nó giúp cho tôi tiếp tục sau mấy chục năm tham gia trong cái chuyện này. Và một điều sau cùng tôi muốn nói nữa đó là trong một thời gian rất dài trước đây, tôi vẫn có cái cảm nghĩ là không biết đến khi nào đất nước Việt Nam mình mới nhìn thấy được sự thay đổi. Nhưng ngày hôm nay, hơn bao giờ hết, tôi có một cái niềm tin rất rõ là đất nước Việt Nam sẽ thay đổi. Tôi đã nhìn thấy tình hình Việt Nam như tôi vừa nói lúc nãy đã thay đổi rất nhiều trong vòng 5 năm qua. Và với cái chiều hướng này, tình hình Việt Nam sẽ còn thay đổi nhanh hơn nữa. Và tôi có thể ví như là chúng ta đang đi trong một con đường hầm trong thời gian mấy chục năm dài, không nhìn thấy ánh sáng ở đâu cả. Nhưng ngày hôm nay, chúng ta nhìn thấy ánh sáng cuối đường hầm rồi. Chúng ta biết là cái cánh cửa ở cuối đường hầm nó nằm ở đâu. Và cái thử thách cho chúng ta là làm sao đi đến được cánh cửa đó và mở tung cái cửa đó ra trong thời gian nhanh nhất. Bởi vì bên kia cánh cửa sẽ là tự do, dân chủ, nhân quyền cho dân tộc Việt Nam.
And while the call is stronger for some more than others, he says the simple tenet of human decency inspires us all to act in whatever way possible.
For us, whether we are Vietnamese American, Vietnamese French, Vietnamese Australian, there is a common thread that will bind us all together, and that is our Vietnamese heritage. Now, by no means, because we share the same heritage, doesn't mean we all have to do the same thing. Getting involved, fighting for justice in Vietnam, fighting for democracy and human rights in Vietnam is a very, very personal choice. I do not expect everybody to share the same callings. They have the urge or the need or the commitment to do the same thing. So it is a very personal choice. It is a very personal matter. However, the only thing I would call on people is that whether you feel that urgency or you feel that passion or not, doing the right thing, helping others to have the same chance like you had, helping others to have justice, whether that person is a Vietnamese or a Chinese or a Tibetan or a Cambodian, to me it's a matter of human decency. It's a matter of universal value, and if you look at that from that angle, then whatever you can do, no matter how little you may think it is, will go a long way, will mean a lot. And that's all I'm asking people, to do whatever you can, no matter how small an action you think it might be, no matter how irrelevant you think it may be, to do something about what you think is wrong that needs to be fixed is better than doing nothing. And you don't have to feel passionate about it. You don't have to feel the same commitment. Just do the right thing. Just do what you think is right. That's all I'm asking.
Coming up after the break, find out more about the situation in Vietnam and why everyone of Vietnamese descent has a personal stake in the future of our homeland. You definitely don't want to miss it. Stay with us.